Today on What Went Wrong, we're going to talk about something that takes your to a new level. Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I've made over 40 feature films. And some of them, my most favorite, have been period pieces. The ones where we get to step backwards in time, or even sometimes forwards in time.
Right.
Green Conspiracy, which we've talked to,
Yes.
is qualifies as a period piece because it's set in the future, and we combine 40s aspects and whatnot. Something I'm gonna nitpick, I'm gonna bitch about. I think it was one of your sons had a nitpick about Green Conspiracy that I'm gonna debunk today. But
Okay.
still pissed me. Even 10 years later, I'm still pissed off about it. But we've also shot westerns and 1940s films, and they're some of my favorites. They're just you get to step back in time, and I love them. Now, when working in the future, it comes down to world building and taking the aspects that you want. One of the films that we're going to be doing in the future, actually two of them. One is Tag, a Tag sequel, which is actually a sequel to both Tag and Green Conspiracy. It's going to take place in the Green Conspiracy world, but with John Maltz. Trey will be reprising his role as John Maltz, and Ty will be coming back to play Hal. But we're setting it in the Green Conspiracy world, and I'm still keeping that look. I'm bringing a little bit of steampunk into it, but it's still a lot of the 40s things. And this is one of those things where you have to explain things, and this is going back to your son. After Green Conspiracy, he gave me about the fedoras. So I just don't think that style would ever go back to the 40s. One of the things about Green Conspiracy and knowing about fashion and styles of the past, the reason people had hats and fedoras is you didn't have hair products and
Right.
and you didn't put all this hairspray in your hair, and the reason you wouldn't have baseball hats in the future is because it squishes your hair. Fedoras were made, and cowboy hats and everything, to keep your hair in place.
So you wouldn't get hat hair.
So you wouldn't get hat hair, yeah. So if in the future the government takes control of how much they rationalize your water, they rationalize your power, they stop putting all the allowing you to put chemicals in hair products and things like that. Hair products go away. So now you have only, the hat to protect your hair. When you go out because also again back in the day, especially in places up north, like where they had steel mills, like Pittsburgh, you walked out and you were walking through coal. You were walking
Right.
through steam or just crap, and it would get all over you. Well, the hat would protect your hair from all that crap. Well, if the environments have their way and you have to go back to burning wood.
Yep.
Then it's going to
Makes
be
perfect
incredibly
sense.
more polluted. So that's why the hats would come back. So, ha!
Which son was that?
David, was it?
That's my nephew.
The nephew. Okay.
Okay.
That was,
Yeah.
Yeah. Right after the premiere, that was the first thing he said. I was like, and that bugged me for 12 years. Now I'm able to say, yeah. There's a perfectly good logical
Yeah.
reason for
He's
it.
talking to you, David. I never even knew about that.
So outside of the future, going back, and then another film that we're doing is I'm rebooting or retelling the Night Watchman stuff, but it's going to be set outside of the Ponders universe and going into a different universe where basically we're going back to the Old West, but it's in the future. All electricity's been screwed up. There's been war. All the big cities are gone, and it's just these little towns now.
Okay.
And that's how the Night Watchmen begin now, is Walter Baker becomes, he happens to find a dead ranger, and he gets a badge, and he starts, in order to survive and get people to buy him food and everything like that, or pay him to do things, he becomes a lawman. And claims that Austin is they're trying to get a government back together in Austin. The first thing you got to do to have a government, to get things under control, is you need law. So he pretends to be a lawman and takes payment for it, and that's how the Night Watchmen now begin. And then like the second episode, the second movie would be Isabella, and how Isabella becomes the Serrano, and why they need to separate it because he was just judge, jury, and executioner, and how that responsibility on one person will eventually make them go nuts. So that's how Isabella comes into the picture now.
Okay.
So those are the and going into and explaining why, and again, it's a period piece. It's set in the future.
Right,
So
set in the
explaining
future.
why things went back to the Old West, and it sometimes it's building backwards. It's, I've got this look. This is how I want it to look. They're still cowboy. I got the dusters. I got the hats. And everything. Everything's going back to that style.
But it's going to be easier to be period correct because it's in the future.
you
We
can
can have
have-
Levi's.
Exactly. You can have Levi's. You can have the telephone poles, the deer feeders, and things like that. And you can. And there's even times when they find, the guy finds an iPod, and there's a little bit of a side quest to him trying to figure out how to charge it. And so it's working backwards in that way, going, this is the look that I want. Now let's backtrack and figure out why
It became
that way. And in Texas, since it's based in Texas, if electricity went like that and you can't use electricity anymore, or you have to go down to, steam power, or you got to go down to just burning wood or whatever, we're already that style, the cowboy hats and the,
Right.
It's not that far of a stretch. It's, so it would make logical sense. Now, working on the opposite end is when you go back into a time that's already happened. How do you turn your house, or how do you find those locations, or how do you make a believable set,
Right.
when people know the way it's supposed to look, because there's pictures and we've seen the movies and we
Right.
know how that is. So now you're built, now you're more structured. Now you're in this area where you
have to find the things from that period.
Yes.
The cars, the
Locations.
dress.
The
locations,
dresses.
fashion.
Brad did a great job with the uniforms in the
Right.
1940s stuff. And one of the favorite things he talked about in one of his earlier episodes of what went wrong. Some of the patches were just printed out on a printer and put it. And because we were shooting in black and white, and
Black and white and DV.
it looks great. It really looks sharp. So sometimes you're going to have to go and create that stuff on your own. Secondhand stores, thrift stores, those are great places to go. I don't go to Goodwill because for secondhand place they're outrageously expensive.
Yes, they are.
But go into the little thrift stores here. You can get trench coats for $1, and some really good deals. And then there's also just making the phone calls. And before I kind of turn it over to you, I'm going to use our philosophy, or one thing that not philosophy, but one thing that people always say. Well, I just don't know how to find this stuff. How to get people to contribute this. It's the phone. The phone is key, and you've got Google. Google now. You can
Right.
find car clubs, swing clubs that like to dress up in that way, steampunk clubs that
Right.
that dress that way. Start making phone calls. People can say, "Well, this person said no." They said no. This, I couldn't get. I just couldn't get anybody. You just keep calling.
Right.
As long as you have in your head and you believe and you understand it is your reality, somebody out there is
Shares
going to
that.
say yes.
Yes.
And just keep making those phone calls until you find that person. Now you and Brad have been my producers, and I've given you the scripts and I said, go fetch. And that has been your jobs, because
Right.
I hate that job. I hate doing it.
Well, you're already doing so many jobs.
Yeah.
It makes it difficult. The phone's good, but for me, the phone's not enough. It's not going to do it. So for me, Google and the phone is fine to find out where these clubs are and stuff. But like when I came up with all the 40s model cars, I went to car shows, and I would find clubs that were showing cars in there that had those types of vehicles. And then I would talk to them. I'd tell them about the project. I would get them excited and turned on to where they're like, yeah, how do we do this? To where I didn't have to pay them anything. They just wanted to be there, and offering to pay them a little stipend for fuel to where it wasn't costing them money to come bring their cars out. And they were just excited to have their cars show up in a film. And you can do that, people, but you have to get them excited and interested in what you're doing. Because if you just go, hey, can I borrow this? Or can you bring this? Why? What's in it for me? And the biggest part is get them excited about your project. If they're excited about it, they're going to want to be a part of it. That's what you have to do. Just like the way you formed the group when we did the 10 films 1 year. You have to get other people excited in what you're doing, wanting to be a part of it, and then they will come in. And if you've got a budget to pay them, by all means, give it to them. Give them what you can to show your appreciation. But so many of them will be happy. Do a special screening that just they get to come to, and you don't charge them. To them, that's great. It's like, oh, I can come. I can have so many people come with me. Great, because then they're like, hey, look, it's my car right there, man. That's awesome. I mean, I get excited over my cop cars that I have all throughout everything. Movies I've done for other people and everything else, I go, that's my car. I supplied that vehicle. And it's still a thrill for me after all this time. So go out and meet people. You go, oh, okay, there's this guy that he's the president of this club. He works over at this place that does military uniforms and stuff, Civil War reenactors, Western. It doesn't matter. Don't just call. Call to make an appointment. Google, find out where they are. Use the phone to call them. Make an appointment. Go buy them lunch, because your return on that is going to be worth the $50-$60 you spend on buying somebody lunch.
Now, changing topic just a little bit, getting off topic just a little bit, I want to say something real quick about what you had talked about, like having a little screening for the people. That's something that you should always do, I think, for your cast is have, you don't always have to go and rent out the Alamo Draft House, or
No.
just have some sort of screening, because when you get everybody together and you're able to watch the project together, and then you have a great time socializing, having a couple drinks, just talking and laughing about good times. Now that social activity has been associated with your movie and them having that experience in the movie. So even if making the movie was a pain in the ass, when you have such a good time at the premiere and the cast party or whatever it is, they associate that party and those good times with the actual making of the film.
Right.
So make sure that you get to socialize and have and celebrate your movie, because it's a major part of the film. Even if nobody ever sees it outside of that screening, you yourself as a filmmaker need to have that experience as well. So I wanted to backtrack just a little bit on that.
Right.
Because I think that's a very important lesson,
Because just while you're making the movie, the majority of the people that are in the movie making it, they're not getting the way it's coming out on the screen. Mm-hmm. So just the fact that they get to see it, then it's like, wow, I didn't know that was going to come out like that. How many times have we heard that from people?
Yeah.
When we have a screen, they go, man,
yeah.
That looked so cheesy when we were doing it, but that's great.
Yeah.
It looks great on film.
Yeah, and I've had people say, man, I've watched you walk, you run around and you're shooting like this over here, and you're running with us, and I'm like, when I'm acting, I'm like, this is gonna look like, and then I watch it up on the movie, and it's like, it's smooth, it's it works and it cuts together well, and so yeah, I've heard that from early on. And it falls into the inside the box thing. Is people are seeing everything in the real world and seeing you or Brad opening the big major door.
Oh yeah, the storm door.
But when they see it on the movie and it's got the sound effects and it's slowly moving, we don't see you guys dragging it or pushing it. It looks great. It looks like it's very convincing. Now you're gonna get back on track.
To the period pieces.
I think the most difficult thing for me in period pieces are the anachronisms. The telephone poles, the wires, the deer feeders. the watches, all this stuff you have to watch. And as a small independent filmmaker with no money, you can't hire a specialist or
Right.
a technical advisor or anything like that. I can tell you right now, you're gonna miss something. Somebody's gonna be wearing the wrong watch or the wrong shoes, and like our Nazis, and you got to tell people specifically what you're looking for, because when some of our Nazis showed up in sandals or Birkenstocks, I'm like, oh man, have
Or
you
the
never
Western
seen-
and the one actor showed up with the tennis shoes.
Yeah. And you'll get that. And it's just like, really? Come on. Have you never seen a Western? Have you never seen a Bogart movie? Do you not? And then I start remembering people are idiots. And I'm like, oh, yeah, people don't know what happened 10 years ago, let alone, 10 minutes ago, let alone 10 years
Right.
ago. So you have to tell people specifically what you're looking for. Send them photographs. Send them. And then, like I have now, just have one of those big crates of spare crap in it. So when people do show up, with non-period clothes or something, you go, oh, all right, here's some boots, here's this, here's that. Have just that safety net ready to go when
And not shiny disco cowboy hats.
yeah. Yeah, well, that was my issue. That was my problem with I think it was Glory Rose. I just bought some hats at Party City because it was a 7-day film festival.
Right.
And I had, and I did, and just kind of looking at it, and when you're in the store, it doesn't glitter the way it did.
Right. We got
You
out there in
put
the
it
sunlight.
Woo! Oh my God. And it's just, and even like when I'm looking in the camera, I'm like, no, it looks fine. And then I get it on the computer and it's like, oh my God, he looks like he should be in the YMCA.
Yeah,
He
you're
should-
sitting
he should have
there
Village
waiting.
People.
It's like, he's going to start stripping when?
So yeah, you got to be careful with that, and most of the time, especially in the Ponders days and the early Not So Sane, it's just like, well, you take what you can get, and we're like, okay, we just
Right.
take it, move on.
Even big budget movies have anachronisms pop up because you just can't totally recreate the world
Yeah.
that you're trying to.
And that's the other thing is I always tell any kind of anachronism, any kind of goof or error or plot hole or anything like that, is you got to understand that this isn't reality.
Right.
This isn't a documentary. This is fiction. This is, the glass is going to go up and down because this isn't a documentary. This is a motion picture with several different takes. This isn't the 1940s. We're, having to fake it the best we can. And that's anybody with any budget.
Right.
You're not going to get everything. The f***ing Game of Thrones Starbucks cup. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I
Game
don't
of Thrones. Oh my God, how did you know? That was like a big
Because
thing.
I wasn't never a fan.
I've never watched it, but I never watched it, not on Facebook, but I heard about it.
Wow.
There's a scene, there's a Starbucks cup sitting on one of the major scenes. Everybody saw it and started posting on Facebook, and then like the next day,
Somebody lost their job.
they digitally removed it, and all previous, later episode, every time it's screened since, it's gone because they digitally painted it out. But that one screening, everybody in the world saw it. So period pieces are going to really cause a problem that way. It's stressful. It's it's really tough to it's disappointing sometimes because you'll be in editing. It's like, oh my God, there's a Hyundai back there.
But they're still fun in spite of all that.
And that
they're
was just
still
about
fun.
what to say. Do not let that be a deterrent. And especially with, because there's a lot of stuff in Bass Reeves that I can remove today with After Effects and their content removal, their content fill removals. And there's so many different things that you can do to fix those in post now. Some things are still very difficult, but some things are like deer feeders in the background. I can take those out now.
Editors love fix it in post.
Yeah. Oh man, the number of times I've shot myself in the foot or cursed my own name because of the phrase "we'll fix it in post." But yeah, I mean, so it's easier today to be able to fix a lot of those things, but you're still going to have some stuff that you can't fix. But should you not do them? No. Explore your history, explore the past, explore these things. They're also great places to, just like a sci-fi, to investigate, current social, economic, any kind of topics, to jump back into the past and explore them back there. Just great places to do that. So yeah, definitely attempt to do the period pieces. And from my aspect, for my lesson to pass on would be to, don't be afraid of a period piece. Keep making phone calls, keep reaching out, keep knocking on doors, because somebody out there will have the car that will let you use, will have the costumes that will let you use. And even Amazon has really cheap costumes that you can find to be able to utilize, and then step back in time and enjoy those moments.
Right, enjoy being back there.
Yeah,
because remember, you have modern toilets to use, and Charmin.
Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I wrote the book on how to make a movie with no money. And here it is. See, it's got pictures and everything. So head on over to our website, notsosane.com, and get your digital or paperback copy today.